The call came in just after 2:17 a.m. A three-story apartment complex on Hawthorne Avenue. Smoke visible. Multiple residents possibly trapped. Station 14 was already moving before the dispatcher finished speaking. Sirens tore through the quiet streets, red lights washing over storefronts and empty sidewalks. Most of the city slept, unaware that in one corner of it, time had already begun to fracture. Firefighter Ethan Morales sat strapped into the engine, jaw set, gloved hands resting calmly on his knees. At 34, he had been on the job long enough to recognize the weight in the dispatcher's voice. Not panic, but urgency sharpened by experience. Those were the calls that stayed with you. When they arrived, the building was already coughing flames. Smoke poured from second-floor windows like a living thing, thick and black, curling into the night sky. The smell of burning plastic and wood hit before the doors even opened. Residents stood barefoot on the sidewalk, wrapped in blankets, faces streaked with soot and fear. "Everyone out?" the captain shouted. A woman shook her head violently. "My neighbor, Mrs. Calder, she's old, she moves slow." The ladder crews were already deploying. Hoses were charged. Orders snapped through the air with practiced precision. Ethan pulled his mask on and followed the crew inside. The stairwell was chaos. Smoke reduced visibility to inches. Heat pressed down like a weight. Alarms screamed overhead, an endless mechanical shriek that set nerves on edge. Doors stood open, some scorched, some splintered. "Left side clear," someone yelled. They moved room to room, methodical despite the speed, shouting names, checking bathrooms, kicking open doors that wouldn't yield. On the second floor, they found Mrs. Calder. She was huddled near her kitchen doorway, coughing, too weak to stand. Ethan lifted her without hesitation, cradling her weight against his chest as another firefighter cleared the path. Her breathing was shallow, rattling. They got her out just as flames licked across the ceiling behind them. Outside, paramedics rushed in. "One more?" the captain asked, scanning faces. A man stepped forward. "My son. He went back for his phone. 3rd floor." The captain swore under his breath. Ethan looked up. The 3rd-floor windows were now fully involved. Fire roared from them, hungry and loud, glass shattering outward. The heat was visibly warping the air. Structural integrity was already compromised. "No one goes back in," the captain ordered. "We've got collapse risk." The crews backed up as the ladder truck repositioned. Water arced into the building, steam exploding outward. They waited. Minutes passed, then more. No one came out. The man's face drained of color. He started to move forward before another firefighter caught him. Ethan stood still, staring at the 3rd floor. Something felt wrong. Not urgency. He knew that feeling well. This was different. A tightness behind the ribs. A sense of unfinished math. "Captain," Ethan said quietly. The captain didn't look at him. "No. I know the risk." "Ethan." "I know," he repeated. "But if he's still alive, we're on borrowed seconds." The captain finally turned. Their eyes met through smoke and flashing lights. "You go in," the captain said slowly. "You might not come back." Ethan nodded once. "I know." He checked his air supply, tightened his grip on the hose line. And then, before anyone could stop him, he turned back toward the building. Inside, the fire had changed. It wasn't crawling anymore. It was running. Ceiling panels collapsed behind him. The stairwell groaned, wood popping under the strain. Smoke was so thick he navigated by memory and touch, counting steps, dragging the hose behind him like an anchor to reality. "Fire department!" he shouted. "Call out!" No response. He reached the 3rd floor, coughing hard, lungs burning despite the mask. Flames had consumed half the hallway. Doors were gone. Just frames and fire. Then he heard it. A weak sound. A cough. Barely human. Ethan followed it, heat blistering through his gear. The man was in the far apartment, collapsed near the bedroom doorway. Barefoot. Burned. Alive, but fading fast. Ethan didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees, hoisting the man over his shoulder. The weight nearly buckled him. His air alarm began to chirp, a warning he didn't have much time left. The hallway behind them was worse. Fire rolled across the ceiling, blocking their original path. The floor sagged beneath his boots. Another alarm sounded. Structural failure imminent. Ethan turned toward the nearest window. He smashed it with his tool. Cold night air rushed in violently, feeding the flames behind him but giving him one chance. "Hold on," he told the man, though he didn't know if he could hear. Ethan climbed onto the ledge, gripping the man tightly as ladder lights swung into view below. "We've got one!" someone shouted. Hands reached up. The ladder shuddered. Then the floor inside collapsed inward, fire exploding outward as the apartment gave way. Ethan jumped. They hit the ladder hard, bodies tangling, firefighters grabbing, pulling, stabilizing. They reached the ground just as the third floor folded in on itself with a roar that silenced everything else. For a moment, no one spoke. Then someone laughed, short and breathless. Paramedics rushed forward. The man lived. Later at the hospital, Ethan sat alone in the locker room, hands shaking now that adrenaline had faded. Soot streaked his face. His gear smelled like smoke and near miss. The captain sat beside him. "You broke protocol," he said quietly. Ethan nodded. "Yes, sir." "You scared the hell out of me." "Yes, sir." The captain was silent for a long moment. Then he added, "You also saved a life." Ethan didn't respond. He never did when people called him a hero, because to him, it wasn't courage. It was refusal. Refusal to accept that everyone was out when one person wasn't. Refusal to let silence mean absence. Weeks later, a letter arrived at the station. It was handwritten, shaky. "I don't remember much," it read, "but I remember someone carrying me out of the fire when I thought I was already gone. Thank you for coming back for me." Ethan folded it carefully and placed it in his locker. He returned to duty the next shift. Same calm focus, same quiet readiness. Still knowing that sometimes the bravest thing a firefighter does is go back in.
After everyone else is out,